8 years after, it took Bokwari 8 years to move a liter of petroleum from 87 naira to 187. It was actually officially 167 naira, 165 naira or so. But there were places where it was being sold for 187 naira a liter. It only took Tifnumbu between May 2023 to October 2024. That's like less than, that's about 17 months to move a liter of petroleum from 187 naira to 1,500 naira per liter. Yeah, no, in Lagos, you still buy it for 1,100, 1,200. Bokwari was paying as much as 5 trillion naira on subsidy a year. They were cashing out big time. On one hand, they were claiming to be reviving the refineries, over $4 billion. But they were paying themselves so much money that when Tifnubu came and told you that subsidy was gone, lied to you. I keep reminding you, lied to you. Only to change it from a subsidy to dollar subsidy, petrol subsidy to dollar subsidy. Now Nigeria paying nearly 1 trillion naira. 1 trillion naira every month. It was, I mean, Tifnubu will spend 12 trillion naira on paying dollar subsidy. Took your naira from 410 naira official to a dollar to 1,750 naira to a dollar official. So more businesses have died. Your national grid continued to collapse. More businesses can't even afford to fuel their generator anymore because, well, you are your own local government, like I said. This is their economy. But they want you to be grateful. You need to be grateful. If not for Tifnubu, things would have gone worse than this. That's what they're saying to you. It took a decision that nobody could take. What decision? By making a pronouncement that is so fraudulent that they don't even care about the lives that are being lost in the process. But you are still alive, and you can read some of those paid economic hitmen, they call them, that continue to make you believe that, oh, it could have been worse. Oh, it's worse already. It's done for already. There is no single investment. Again, you see, when they talk about reforms, part of what I, as a person, would love to see when somebody says they are reforming, for example, is that, or in fact, hang on, I wanted to say you would have taken a look at the investments in critical sectors. Like when, do you know that Tifnubu has borrowed more than, let me give you the ones I know now, okay? The World Bank, within 18 months, they've already mobilized over $4 billion for him. The Afrexim Bank, they've mobilized $3.3 billion for him. IMF, they've mobilized over 2 billion. I'm using over here because I can't give you the round figure because nobody knows all this. They've not disclosed all of them except the snippet that gets leaked, right? So if you had 3.3 billion, 4.8 billion, that itself is, hang on, 4.8 plus 3.3. That itself is like 8.1 billion. Now, 8.1 billion plus 2 billion, that's 10 billion. The Central Bank of Nigeria has printed over 20 trillion naira for Tifnubu. Are you aware of that? I'll keep reminding you, and they can possibly continue to deny it. And then you will come back here later once it becomes a breaking news. Why you has been saying these things so for? Anyway, over 20 trillion. That is why In October, this past October, Tinubu broadcasted and lied to the gullible Nigerians that the 27.5 trillion naira printed by Buhari. Do you know that the Buhari printed 27.5 trillion? If you mix that with the exchange rate of that time, that is over $50 billion, $63.4 billion. That's how much that was in total. Yeah, go and check it. And there is nobody, I keep asking, not a single person is able to tell us what they use the money for. The central bank by law is allowed to lend 5% of the national budget to the federal government. In Nigeria, it is the law that if you write a budget and you have a deficit means you write a budget of 1,000 naira and you only have 800 naira, or you only have 900 naira, which means you are short of 100 naira. The central bank, by law, is allowed to borrow you 50 naira, 5% of that money. So you get now 5% of it. That's the law. Buhari changed the law. They amended it that the central bank could give them 10%. Even at that, Buhari was collecting over, from Emefiole, was collecting over 2,000%. Not 200, not 500%, over 2,000% of their budget. So by the time they were done, Buhari has collected 27.5 trillion naira printed by Emefiole and handed to him. And nobody could say this is what they use it for. Oh, the money was used to finish the construction of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Oh, the money was used to improve electricity generation and distribution. Oh, the money was used for local electrification projects. Oh, the money was used to complete the about 20 medical facilities across Nigeria. Nothing. Nobody can say this is what they used the money for. $50 billion. I'm sorry, $63.4 billion. That's not among all the other debts we then borrow and borrow. That was in 8 years. When it came to Tinubu, within a year alone, Oduduwa Emefiole, Adobe has printed over 20 trillion naira for Tinubu. Nobody knows what he's using it for. So Tinubu now came out and said he has paid off the 27.5 trillion naira printed by Buhari. How? How did you pay that off? Meanwhile, what they did was just to doctor the book. Okay? They now turn it into, they have a name for it. So it's only GPT, only Rosso. So they turned it into, they have this economic name for it. Something, I explained that what they meant by what they turned it into. That it is a debt that will now be repaid back in 40 years' time. So if you had 40 years to Tinubu's age, is he going to still be alive? You converted Buhari's debt to 40 years repayment so that you can add your own. Within a year, you have already taken over 80% of what Buhari got in 8 years. Nobody knows what they are using it for. And also, there is nobody, none of you here can tell me how much as the NNPC that is selling Nigeria crude oil, according to them, Nigeria is currently producing 1.3 million barrel of crude oil every day. That 1.3 million barrel of crude oil, now only 40% Nigeria will collect from it, royalty. The rest goes to the companies, the oil companies that are extracting it. Nigeria cannot even extract our own crude oil. For 60 years, since Nigeria found their crude oil in commercial quantity, Nigeria criminals have not invested in the capacity to extract the crude oil themselves. They only sell oil blocks to, their concubines themselves, right? Allocate, and those ones will now go and look for oil companies that can extract, invest. So they are giving crude oil, they are giving oil blocks. Nigeria, that cannot manage or maintain their own refinery to refine their own crude oil. Nigeria has no single machine to pump their own crude oil for 60 years. So these people, they are more interested and comfortable collecting royalty. Let other people extract it. So yeah, give us 40%. I'm not sure it's even up to 40% anymore. Do you know that? Nigeria is considered oil-producing countries. Oil-producing country among oil-producing countries. So among all the oil-producing countries in the world, it is only in Nigeria that they are not. You have an NPC, but what they do there is to award contracts, allocate oil blocks, and collect, royalty on them. So I'm asking you, the oil companies are not remitting the money to NNPC. How much do you think the NNPC Nigeria has remitted or is remitting every month? And they have remitted since Tinubu came to force himself on you. How much? Do you have a clue? You are supposed to be able to have that because the money is meant to be shared by the three arms of government, Abi. Three arms, Abi, three organs of, I don't know. Do you know? This is how shady, how dubious, and how criminal the entire thing is. It is stinkingly corrupt. And everybody that gets their own chance to have a shot at it, just take care of yourself and talk less. So NNPC is not remitting crude oil money. Central Bank is printing money to give to Tinubu to spend. And then they go about borrowing so that the rest of you can go sorrowing. Ways and means. They are breaking their own law. They've broken the law. Bukwari broke the law. Broke out to pieces the whatever law. From 10% supposed ways and means that were supposed to be given to 20,000 to 2,000. Tinubu's budget for 2024 is somewhere around 28 trillion naira. Now, 28 trillion, if you have 10% of 28 trillion, that should be 2.8 trillion. That's the most the central bank should print as ways and means to give to Tinubu, but they've printed over 20 trillion naira for him. That is why, after spending over $4 billion on your refineries, they still couldn't refine a teaspoonful of crude oil from any of them. So NNPC is importing fuel. Other oil marketers, importers, they call them, they're also importing fuel. Matrix Petroleum Service Limited, Rano, and then another one, AYM, something, Petroleum Limited. They are those who are importing fuel into Nigeria. Before now, the reason why they had to import is because Nigeria was not refining. And Dangote Refinery came on. They were supposed to stop importing. Because to import fuel to Nigeria, you need dollar, not naira. And the central bank must produce the dollars, must give you the dollars. Or you have to find another means of getting dollars. So you now have a refinery in your country that has the capacity of refining over 300,000 barrels of crude oil every day. that should automatically what? Stop the pressure on the dollars. I mean, normally. Or rather, they started a new campaign against him because it is cheaper to import, very cheap to import petroleum to Nigeria than to go to Dangote Refinery and buy it. So when I told you that the real enemies of Nigeria are the criminals, the unpatriotic criminals that you called your politicians, their elite and their friends and all that. Now, this is something that is very much open, even though Dangote himself is one of them. But I am now kind of talking as like a layman now. Like, come on, if they explain Nigeria to you, and you are not like mad after that, they don't explain it well. Made sense then to keep milking you, okay? Stealing the forex as much as you get. Then you have a refinery that is in Nigeria now. That should automatically make it easier if they cared about Nigeria, if they actually care for you. But they don't give a damn. Dangote had to go to court. He asked the court to stop them from. He said court should cancel their licenses. Why do you have to go to court, Dangote? I thought Kolu ordered them to start buying from you. So the more you look, the less you see. The more you look, the less you see.
The more you look, the less you see. The more you look, the less you see. The more you look, the less you see.
It is unbelievable. So, this morning, the oil marketers asked the Federal High Court to throw out the case of Dangote, asking them to stop importing fuel. How dare you? The problem is not the importation of fuel. The juicy part is the fact that it is the easiest way of collecting forex subsidy. The one they told you that is gone. Subsidy is gone, but it's not. It is now called the dollar subsidy. Dollar where Nigeria don't get to. NMPC was supposed to be providing the dollars from the sale of crude oil. At the sale of crude oil, at the no sale of crude oil, shishi no day. So where are they getting the dollars from? I probably just don't have a clue myself. Normal. They were supposed to give Dangote crude oil to start with, so that the expensive petrol or whatever can be subsidized without giving him dollars. And Dangote can go and sell to other nations in Africa in dollars. When it comes to you, if they care for you, I've said this before, it would have ordinarily be the easiest deal. So today, they went to court to ask the court to throw out whatever Dangote was saying. Because according to them, importing fuel is cheaper than buying from Dangote. So why then did Dangote build refinery? Maybe could just sell them. Or I don't know. Listen to this guy.
Thank you very much. Let me clarify something to the audience, particularly the Nigerian audience and consumers. Dangote Refinery petrol pricing is not more expensive than the imported petrol. It's not. We seem at times to be carried away by some of these narratives that are just being fed into the space, into the market space. The local refinery operated by Dangote, if you check the price, is below 1,000 naira per liter. It's below 1,000 naira per liter. If you check the international landing price, even if it is about the same price, you will see because of all the add-on costs and the demurrage and all the headaches in Apapa, you will see that the price will be a little bit still higher than Dangote's price. And the quality of what is being imported, because this is part of the problem. What is the quality of the product being imported and what is the price? What is the quality of the petrol produced by Dangote Refinery and the price they are talking about? So I am not convinced, and I don't want Nigerians to be swayed, because this lingering unnecessary distraction, I use the word unnecessary distraction. It is time, Mr. President, intervene and midwife this matter and resolve it, because it's a big distraction. The attention of the highest decision-making authority in this country should be on how to get this country more productive, more safe to grow food to feed our people, more safe to produce more crude oil, more safe to produce more gas for export, so that we can earn more money to sustain this teeming population that is becoming a big burden and a big cancer for this country. So this distraction we have gotten ourselves entrapped in for the last 6 months is unnecessary. And it is time, Mr. President, weigh in and resolve this matter. This pricing issue is unnecessary. Dangote Refinery petrol is not more expensive. Ipman are spoiled children. It is time we remove this feeding button. This feeding bottle must be removed from their mouth. They are spoiled children. So it's time we face the reality. I use the word spoiled children because Ipman does nothing more than just to take petrol from NNPC and resell, or whoever NNPC asks them to go to resell. So over the years, their investment is tied to NNPC behavior. If NNPC behave well, they make money. If NNPC does not behave well, they lose money. Ipman does not own refinery. They just own depot and petrol station across the country. And their supply is heavily dependent on NNPC. Their pricing mechanism is heavily dependent on NNPC. So how can you run an economy like that? It's never done for a country of this population with this huge crude oil reserve and gas. So I think it's time we just get on and move on and get out of this.
You know, one thing that is quite hilarious about Nigerians who share their opinions on the state of the country. I'm talking about the situation. When people want to talk about the insecurity, they will be like, Mr. President needs to intervene. When they want to talk about the economy, the president needs to do something and he needs to intervene in all of this. That is hilarious. The head of the cabal, the head of the mafia in Nigeria has always been what? The president and his men. Tinubu is at their meetings, publicized meetings with Dangote severally. In the last 6 months alone, Tinubu has given about 5 different directives. All of the directives are in favor of Dangote, at least in the media. He ordered them to give him crude oil. That never happened. He ordered the marketers to go and buy from Dangote. That is not happening. He ordered NNPC to stop importing fuel and buy from Dangote. That's not happening. When everybody always talk again and say, it needs to intervene. Intervene what? Are you that daft? He is the one behind the whole mess. 100% he is himself and his men. Wale Idun has granted. They even went to Dangote Refinery to celebrate the loading of tankers for petroleum there. Tankers. Only for the tankers never to get to their destination for weeks. He's the one behind the whole thing. Such a rigged system that, and it is so so hard to be on Dangote's side as well, because he himself has enjoyed this monopolistic life for decades.